I was here. Chapter 1, Part 3. The White Lie. Before humanity became infected by the diseased culture of the Neanderthal, honorable ancestresses and ancestors maintained oral traditions and published texts utilizing myth to express spirit's reality. They believed that divinity inspired them to write these works and preserve ritual traditions. I used to believe that the Bible was the infallible product of divinity's inspiration of those honorable ancestresses and ancestors. I believed that the inerrant truth resided within its pages. I no longer believe that. During the last sabbatical in which I utilized the Bible as my medium, I asked the quote-unquote Lord, "Tell me whatever you want to tell me." After a 3-year sabbatical, I emerged proclaiming these things. The Bible is a byproduct of the Greco-Roman power's incursion into African provinces. When the Greco-Roman powers colonized Kemet, they witnessed the power of the myth, their sacred writings, and its effect upon the psyche of those indigenous peoples. The invaders ascribed the majesty and power of Kemetic civilization to those indigenous concepts of spirit reality. They witnessed the dutiful reverence of the indigenous people and their adherence to provincial law. They saw the impact of indigenous Kemetic culture upon the foreigner and thought, "We went to and fro warring to bring lands under our subjugation, and all we needed was a book." It's my researched opinion that the Greco-Roman powers conscripted the writing of a mythical narrative. That mythical narrative is what we now call the Bible. The intended purpose of this writing was the indoctrination of those Africans that they'd conquer into a spirit reality more conducive to subjugation. African ancestresses and ancestors across the diaspora passed down a divine heritage. They taught through ritual ceremonies. They taught through both the oral and written traditions. Their message was that we exist in cooperation with divinity. The evolution of what we know today as science, medicine, industry, philosophy to live by, and civilization itself is divinity working with, in, and through humanity. Although the Bible is seeded with universal or spirit realities truths, these truths were first published in the oral and textual mythologies of ancient Africans. The Bible is a redaction and compilation of those oral narratives and literary works. It is the perfect blend of myth, pseudo-history, numerology, cosmology, ancestral concepts on spirit reality, and ritual traditions. The Bible has been propagandized, politicized, and infused with a dogma meant to turn the African away from themselves. The Bible is the chronicling and merging of the histories and myths of the Nile Valley civilizations and the indigenous peoples who inhabited those lands. For instance, the Upper and Lower Kemet of history became the Israel and Judah of their pseudo-history. The New Testament disciples of their pseudo-history were the Greek philosophers of his story who studied in Kemet and were sentenced to death for heresy in Greece. The list of historical parallels between Israel and their pseudo-history and the Kemet of history are many. I theorize that Africans who were gifted at nuance, understood the myth, and were initiated into various spiritual traditions were conscripted to produce the work. Some did so because of the threat of death, and others because of the promise of provincial power in the emerging system. Due to the weight of conscience, some Africans codified within the text cues that didn't readily appear to the Greco-Roman powers. They'd hope that those cues would resonate with those descendants who hadn't been fully disintegrated and absorbed into the Neanderthals' dysfunction. They'd hope that a remnant would hear that call to Sankofa.